Somebody asked me the other day how I deal with burnout as a business owner and how I work with my clients as a professional hypnotist who feel like they're on the road to burnout. And here's the thing, I didn't give him a list, but instead I invited him to do a deep dive into himself. I got curious instead and started asking him questions. In fact, this is how I help the majority of my clients. Being curious will hand me every answer I need in order to help you. So here's where we start so you can know how to help yourself or someone else facing burnout. Burnout for high functioning people is like climbing out of a dirty pool into a clean one. You feel amazing for about a minute and then you climb right back into the dirty one. And you're aware the whole time. You're aware you're standing there saying, wow, that pool is filthy. I've watched myself make it filthy. I was there. And then back in you go. In fact, people do this for years and they can't figure out why. And I'm going to show you the real reason. And once you see it, you're not going to be able to unsee it. So sorry in advance. It's almost like seeing that FedEx logo and you've never noticed the arrow before in the middle of it. And once you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't unsee that. You know what I'm talking about. So first, here's a quick vibe check on who this is for. First, this is for high functioning professionals and business owners, people who look like they have it all together on the outside, but on the inside, you're ready to fall apart. And I also see this with a lot of adult children of alcoholics or people who grew up in chaos. You're the most put together person in every room you walk into. In fact, you're the one that everybody calls on when something goes wrong. You're probably the most functional one in your family, which I know is both a curse and a blessing, and nobody has any idea you've been running on fumes since, well, as far back as you can remember. And that skill you have, where you can be falling apart and still sound totally fine on a phone call, that's not nothing. That's something somebody taught you, probably really early on. So I'm not going to hand you a productivity list. I'm going to show you how I actually work with these types of clients, and you might very well recognize yourself in this too. So buckle up because this is meant to help you too. So here's the pattern. Once you spot it in yourself, it's hard to miss. In fact, you probably get burnt out. You take a break, you feel a little bit better, and then you walk straight back into the same shit that burnt you out in the first place. It's like you've rinsed off, but you did not clean the pool. The water is still the same damn water. And every single time you tell yourself it's going to be different, then you go right back into the same setup and the same habits that caused the overwhelm in the first place. You think, oh, it'll be different this time. Might be the most expensive sentence in your personal or professional life that you've ever said. It's cost me money, it's cost my clients money, and it just sounds so reasonable when you say it though. So why do you climb back in? You know the water's dirty, you know that. And that's the part almost nobody talks about. So you see the dirty pool is what you know. For a lot of my clients, chaos and pressure was the water they grew up in. It was the house, it was the dinner, it was the every holiday, it was the need to constantly be on or to perform for love, which means calm feels foreign, genuinely uncomfortable. In fact, I've had clients tell me a quiet weekend gives them anxiety. They're sitting on the beach thinking, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Yeah, your whole personality. It's at home and it's in the dirty pool where you're used to. So you rebuild the thing that fries you over and over because it feels like home. And home is supposed to feel good. So your brain files it under safe because our brain, it likes things that are familiar, even if they're bad for us or toxic. It's still familiar. This is actually why just take a vacation does nothing for you specifically. In fact, that advice treats burnout like a math problem. Too much work, subtract some work, problem solved. There you go. But is it really? For high functioning people, this lives a lot deeper than just a calendar. It's wrapped up in who you are. Your mind and your nervous system have both one setting, and that setting is hot. So, what do? You clear your schedule and you watch what happens. Within a month, it's full again, and nobody snuck in there. Nobody broke in and added things. You looked at an open Tuesday and you got scared. The workload was never really driving this. In fact, a wise person once told me if you're constantly putting out fires, you are the arsonist. And that one hit hard. And I know it probably resonates with you too. This means the original question, how do I deal with burnout, is pointed at the wrong target. It's pointed at the feeling. So here's the question actually ask clients. Do you want to stop the feeling of burnout, or do you want to stop being the person who keeps building the thing that causes it? Because remember, you're the arsonist. One of those is a band aid, the other one actually changes something. And I want you to sit with which one you are really after and which one you really wanted when you originally clicked on this video. And no judgment. I've picked the Band-Aid plenty of times. In fact, that floating Band-Aid might be one of the things that's floating in the dirty pool. Yeah, leave it there. It may have helped for a little bit, but it's not going to be a good permanent solution. And you know that. But knowing it doesn't solve the problem. We need to implement it and feel it. So let me show you three things I actually do. First one, I don't open with tools. I open with questions. One that makes something or someone look inward and pull the answer out of themselves. I'll ask, what does burnout actually mean to you? How do you know when you're in it? Where do you feel it in your body? And this gives people insight and context. And then I go a step deeper. What specifically causes the burnout? Which work, which people, which parts of your day, and what could you do differently, and what would that actually look like? And this is usually where people go completely quiet on me. Not because it's a hard question, but because nobody has ever asked them that before. They've been asked how they're doing 4,000 times, and they've got really good at saying, good, busy, living the dream. But nobody ever asked them what burnout means to them. So when somebody finds their own pattern, it sticks. But if I were just to give people a list, the only thing it would do is add more overwhelm and anxiety to their lives, and they'd say, oh my gosh, now I have to do another thing. And that's not what we want. The second thing I do is I teach people how to detach. You might have realized by now it's not necessarily the things on the outside that are causing the burnout, but it's really your reaction on the inside that's causing the burnout. Most of my clients carry all the pressure, expectation, and weight around with them constantly. And on a day off in the shower and their kids' recital, they're physically present, but they're mentally rewriting an email. It's a tab that never closes. And you've had it open so long, you forgot you opened it. And that's where the problem is. So detaching is learning to put the weight down instead of hauling it everywhere you go. You're allowed to set it on the ground. It'll still be there, but that's the thing about responsibility. It waits. Responsibility is very patient because you are not the sum of everything you're responsible for. Let that sink in. The third thing, and this is the concrete tool, I teach clients to anchor a symbol of calmness. You take a genuine feeling of calm and you connect it to something simple, an image, a word, a small gesture with your hand. And it all starts with one more question. How would you rather feel instead? And so many people aren't used to that. And then when the pressure spikes, you reach for that symbol and you bring the calm back on purpose, intentionally. Now, I know it sounds a little woo. It isn't. You already have anchors. A song that comes on and you're 17 again, a smell that puts you in your grandmother's kitchen. Your brain does this automatically all day long. We're just doing it intentionally, on purpose this time, and pointing at something useful. It's showing your nervous system and your mind where the off switch is because at some point it genuinely forgot you had one. Now, some of you are sitting there saying, no, I'm actually just pretty overworked. And look, I totally get it. And sometimes that's completely true. Sometimes there are real things on your plate that need to come off. And if that's you, cut them. For real, go do that. Cut those things out. But if you've cut back before and you still ended up right back here, the workload isn't telling the whole story. The thing worth looking at is why you keep rebuilding it. So, for the people I work with, burnout is the pattern they keep recreating because the chaos feels like home to them. A break just resets it on the clock. So, this leaves you with a choice. You can keep chasing the clean pool feeling one weekend at a time, or you can do the deeper inner work so you quit climbing back into the dirty pool. Now, if you want to work with me on resolving this, there's an application down below. I require everyone to fill out an application before I work with them. Or if you'd rather learn how to do this work with other people, I teach my direct hypnosis and coaching model in an intensive certification program. The link is also in the description. Either way, get out of the dirty pool and stay out of it. Now, if you'd like to experience the hypnotic anchoring exercise I talked about in this video that can help you dissolve burnout and increase your feelings of inner peace and calm so that you get off the struggle bus, I cover how to do that in this video that I'm referencing here. And as always, be well, do good, be true to who you are, and happy healing.